Today's Saturday, September 20, 29th, Feast of St. Matthew, and we're looking at some results from the program Dance, and this is on my home computer, and it shows where some orphan planets would end up after eclipsing the sun at the time of Jesus' crucifixion. And this happens to be a few years after the crucifixion is where they go to. This would be in 37 AD. As seen from the Earth, they would be, I have sort of like an orphanage of planets that could possibly have eclipsed the sun. And the orphanage sort of disperses out into the area of Taurus in the constellation there, and that would be near the plane of the ecliptic. And you see Taurus is here. Where Taurus is right in this area, and this is a very big thing, big constellation. And you see this big strong star Bellatrix, and this is where they go, and the plane of the ecliptic is right in there. So they're hiding out there in the plane of the ecliptic. And this would be for orphan planets that would have come originally from the other side of the world, and if we look at where they would have been a few years earlier, we can just change the date here from the year 37 back to the year 30, say 3, no 31. And that will put in there. We'll find out where they come from, because that it would have come from someplace there. So we'll just hit that date, and we can look at where they're active. We go over here and find out who we have here. The objects are, the active objects are in this column, and they're called, there's the first item, RI 50Q, that's 50 kilometers per second, added on to sort of like a quiet elliptical orbit going in toward the sun, and RI50H. Q refers to a quarter of a kilometer per second transverse velocity during the eclipse, and this one refers to 50 kilometers, half a kilometer per second transverse. So, in other words, they don't have much energy out of the ecliptic plane. Most of it's in the ecliptic plane. This is 3/4 of a kilometer per second out of the ecliptic plane. And then also we have these R's, R4P3s, R4M3s, and these R's are you can see on the right hand of the thing that they are cometary type of objects, and those are R's I think have higher energy than I think they're 100 kilometers per second instead of 50, so they go a little more straight. So we'll look at that in a minute and see. Now here we go. So those are the names that they're called RI50. See, so RI50 is one of the ones we're trying to find. So we'll go back, we'll hit escape, get out of here, and now we'll go back to the thing, and now we'll find out where RI50 was at this time. RI50, find RI50, and it'll tell us where it is. Okay, and if I hit the label, you'll see that these RI50s are over in this area here. And this is a big group of stars here called Virgo. So these stars come out of Virgo. I mean, these little planets. See, this is one of the little planets. They call it an asteroid, but it's actually a comet or an orphan planet in my terminology. And they're coming in from out here. Now this is just only one orphan planet actually came through, but this is a cluster or an orphanage of planets because I can't really tell you just exactly where it came from, but I can tell you where within a fairly big area of space where it probably came from. For example, these guys here are at 17.56 astronomical units. That guy, he's R4P1. And this guy in here can't tell what that is RI50, and it's at Earth. This is 17.56 astronomical units. So it's about at the same distance, 17 astronomical units away. That guy is at (17 astronomical units away). That guy's at 17. So all of these orphan planets are at about the same range. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought they were all, some of them would be 100 kilometers per second planets, but they're all the 50s. And they're just spread out in there as a sort of a class of objects that could possibly have done it. They all have come in, they all will come in, according to Newton's laws, and get between the Earth and the Sun at the time of Jesus' crucifixion. And that's why I'm just choosing ones, putting them there, and then this is what happens when you work backwards their trajectories. They end up coming from Virgo out there, and they end up going to Taurus, as you can see that where they were when they came out. So this is a year before. Now, if we go to the time of the crucifixion, we'll see that they all go to the to the sun. They all get in the way of the sun. So we'll go to the time of the crucifixion. 4, 3. The year is 33. That's the number there. And the time is the month of April, and it's the 3rd hour, and it'd be the 12th, the 3rd day, April the 3rd, and at noon. And this is the local time when you're doing the ground view, and we have the I have the observatory in Jerusalem, so it takes the local time Jerusalem. So that's what we'll see. We'll see where these guys went to now. I'll hit this thing. Let me see, what's the name of the, before, I'll hit the time. Okay, now we'll find the sun. S-U-N, put sun in here. And we'll find it, and let's see, we'll find the sun. Now we'll magnify the sun a little bit so we can see what's happening in it. Because all of these guys will at that time be right in the middle of the sun. So we'll increase the magnification. and we'll look for the label of the object. Oh, look, see, they're all right in the center of the sun. All of those 6 objects are clustered in the center of the sun. That's because I made the calculations so that they would all cluster in the center of the sun. The label is right up here. You can hardly read it right now with the simulation because it's these RIs such and such in there, and they're all overwriting one another. But you can see they're all right there in the center of the sun. And that would be at the beginning. So right at the beginning of the crucifixion, I put all those planets right in the center of the sun. And if we go 1 hour further to from 12 to 1, that would be 1300. And we hit the label, 1300. So 4, 3, what happened? Oh, okay. Oh, that's an impossible date. Let me see. 4, 3. Oh, okay. 4, 3. Should be 13, not 32. 4, 3. 1, 13. 13. Oh. Let me see. I gotta go back to the beginning. There's 04. 03, and the time is 1300. So it'll be an hour after the. Okay, now it's 03. And then 13, and I put in this number 08 because it has to do with just my uniformity. There's 8 minutes of the after the beginning of the hour. So that would be at 1308, 33 AD, the 4th month, the 3rd day. So we'll see where these planets have gone to in that 1 hour. So I'll hit the thing, and you see, look, if I hit the label, you'll see that some of them have spread way up here and down below, and the other ones are still eclipsing the sun. And these are the RIP3, RIP1, RIP. So some of the ones with greater transverse velocity have moved away from the sun, and others would still be eclipsing the sun an hour after the crucifixion starts. And so that way we can eliminate these guys from our orphanage that would be relevant to studying the crucifixion eclipse. Now, if we go for another hour, up to 1400, change the time to 1400, which would be 2 in the afternoon, and 8 minutes after 2, actually, and look and see what happens with the simulation. See, there's a whole bunch of these dots are still in front of the sun, so they've just stayed there after an hour. See, you can see if I hit label, you'll see that there's a label on the dots. They're still eclipsing the sun, but these guys above and below don't, so they would not be a part of the orphanage that would be still eclipsing the sun after 2 hours. We know the eclipse lasted 3 hours, so the planets with these parameters are not good for that particular thing. And then if we look at finally the 3rd hour, 1500. change the 14 to 15 and hit this carriage return here. Still, we have these planets are still in front of the sun, and the other ones have moved even further away. So they would be. That's one of the asteroids there. So that shows that if we hit label, label over here, you see we still have a bunch of these planets in front of the sun. So these planets would all be, or their trajectory would be pretty good for an eclipsing object that would stay in front of the sun on the day of Good Friday for at least 3 hours, and so then they would still be within our cluster of orphan planet trajectories. That would be good, and so in the sense that we would consider them possible candidates for the thing. Now, we don't know the size of the planet that was eclipsing the sun, nor do we know exactly what they meant by eclipse. So if the planet was really big, this would have to be gigantic, pretty much gigantic compared to our Earth, but this planet could still be, a planet centered right there, could be big enough, with a big enough thing that it would go around and eclipse the sun. So it's still possible that would eclipse the sun if it was a really big enough planet, or this one, if it had a big enough circle to include the sun. It could be the eclipse, but it would represent a gigantic planet. I don't know the exact number, but it would be very big. These guys, just to eclipse the sun here, have to be bigger than the Earth, sitting right in the center. So they have to be bigger than the Earth. So when you get this far away, you get a linear dimension that would be, say, 5 or 6 times that of the Earth in diameter. But then when you look for the volume, it comes out to be 6 times 6 times 6 would be 36 times 6, which would be a large in the 36 times 6. Well, it'd be about 200 times bigger in volume, and perhaps 200 times bigger in mass. Could be bigger in mass, 200 times, or something, because we don't know the density of this orphan planet. If it was a gas giant, it'd be one thing. If it was a rocky planet, it would be another thing. If it was a water planet, it would be another thing. So we don't know its composition, but we do have some idea of the trajectory, considering that not all trajectories provide provide an eclipse, and an eclipse is a pretty good constraint on a trajectory, but it's not. And there are other aspects of the eclipse that are important, because the mass of the object would drag on the Earth and cause changes in the Earth's orbit. So we have to analyze that. So this really gigantic planet coming near the Earth may have changed the Earth's orbit quite a bit. We do know that the Earth had a year of approximately 365.25 days, because that was what the Julian calendar, which was established before this time, had for its calendar, and now our calendar has 365.25 minus 10 minutes, quarter days minus 10 minutes. So if the eclipsing object should not have changed the Earth's year by more than 10 minutes, is approximately a good idea. So I'm going to try to evaluate the mass of the eclipsing objects and make sure that based on the radius, in other words, a really gigantic radius object would, unless it was extremely light, like a cloud or a dust cloud or something like that, would not be able to stay in between the Earth and the Sun on this orbit. on this trajectory down here, but it would up here. I mean, much smaller thing about the size of the Earth was in here. Could stay, well, that guy's still staying right in the center, so that particular trajectory could produce a 3-hour one, and this one could produce a 3-hour if the radius of the eclipsing object were like that. So all in all, this is the and actually speaking, it produced more than 3 hours, because I'm only not considering the time before the crucifixion starts, and we know there wasn't an eclipse then. So there's other ways to cut down the number of eclipse orbits, because they shouldn't produce an eclipse before the time. So some of these that I consider to be good under consideration of just producing an eclipse would not be good, because they're producing the eclipse for too long a time. So I have to find a subset of all this orphanage of possible orphans that just produce the eclipse for the given desired time, observed time, and don't do it for the wrong period of time. So this is what this little study is working on, and we can find that where in general these eclipsing objects go to, which will help the astronomers to search for them, because the object should still be in existence wherever this orphan planet is. It would fall in and cause eclipse, and then and 2,000 years later we should be able to find it out there in interstellar space. It's a pretty big object, bigger than the Earth, and if it's not a cloud that would dissipate, then it would be easy it would hold together and be a spherical planet out in interstellar space, and we can find where that is, because we can look at this. This guy is called R4M3, and it's R4P1, and if I go a little further in time, let's go a little bit further in time, make you see how these things move in time. The time over here, the time will click along a little bit faster now, because I've increased the rate of doing this, and so these things will move, and then I'll stop it and get the names of the ones that are right in the center. So here we go, and now they're moving. You see, there they come out. There was 3 in the center. Now they're moved out to here, you see, and they're here. So this guy is called R4M1. This one is R4P1, and you can see that its distance from the Earth is 0.16 astronomical unit. And this guy's distance from the Earth is 0.16 astronomical unit. Now, these guys are moving down toward the sun, and so these are not coming out, but they're going to end up away out there in Taurus, I believe. So if we look at these guys a little bit later, let's change the year to 35 AD, and they should be out there in Taurus. And now, let me just go to find out who they are. Go to Access and look at the objects that we've got. The object is called RI50Q. We'll look for RI50Q, and that'll be out there in Taurus. So let's see that. Let's go find. Going RI50Q. That guy should be out in Taurus. Let's see. L. Now it will ask for the thing to show us the constellations. Let's decrease the zoom, because when you zoom in too far, the constellations are there, but they're. Let's see, go down, zoom. Now you can see the lines of the constellation. And here we have, see, here's where these planets are out there. I mean, these orphan planets got out there. And if you look over here, this word Taurus. So this is this object in here is, see, Eta Taurus. It's called Alcyone. And over here, well, these are all Taurus stars. This is Alpha Tauri. Alpha Taurus called Aldebaran. It's I think, Arabic name for that wonderful star. And so the orphan planets have gone out to Aldebaran's their neighborhood. And this is 123. I don't know what Greek letter that is. Tau. It's Taurus, though. This is the Taurus